Today I'm going to talk about the data analytics specialty. I'm trying to get a comprehensive list of things because I've been evaluating questions and there's really no good questions for it. Let's go take a look at what this exam is all about. So we're talking about this one, the new certification that was rolled out from big data when big data became 3 different courses. Essentially, there's the machine learning course, used to be a part of big data. A lot of it used to be a part of big data, but didn't cover machine learning really well. So now machine learning really covers big data really well. Then databases were a part of big data, which is now the database specialty, which I talked about in a previous certification video. And then number 3 is the data analytics, right? So this is essentially the old big data specialty exam, which is not available anymore. It's got the same requirements. Yeah, we need to go to. And as you can see in the beginning here, there's no big data specialty anymore. The exam is gone. So if you were able to pass it in the past, it's still valid until whatever date is on the actual exam. But of course, it is going to be replaced fully. It has been fully replaced by the data analytics specialty exam. So let's look at the certification guide. The guide itself says 5 years of experience with data and analytics technologies. And this is probably the most important factor for this exam. If you are experienced with data analytics technologies, then you're going to pass the exam, period. Literally, if you have the 2 recommendations here, 5 years experience with analytics and then 2 years experience with AWS, you are going to pass the exam. That there's no other way around it. Because it is specific, does ask questions that are specific to analytics tools. Of course, the AWS experience needs to be around building, designing solutions, evaluating solutions for big data, and not just, designing big data queries, writing big data queries, or designing big data analytics processes, right? It's also about architecting. So I would say like this: if you have the solutions architect professional skill level for AWS, and if you've been working with data analytics for 5 years, then you're good. Typical exam, right? Multiple choice, multiple response. This one is scored at 750. It's a pretty tough one. You got to get things pretty much right to pass this one. But again, if you have the experience, the questions are oriented around experience itself. 5 domains, a collection of data. So all things ingestion, right? Talking about things like how to handle the 3 V's, velocity, variety, and volume. These are the 3 different factors. So having the ability to efficiently ingest streaming data, having the way understanding how to efficiently ingest files, and of course structured data and semi-structured data. Also, what services in AWS offer ordering, what kind of format they can accept, what kind of format they can transform into. So let's take a look at a few examples. So first off, it's Kinesis. Kinesis has data streams. Data streams is a technology for capturing real-time data. Real-time means there's millisecond latency from when the data is captured and available for processing. So essentially with Kinesis data streams, maximum size is 1 megabyte per put. Maximum number of puts is 1,000 puts per shard. Maximum throughput per shard is 1 megabyte writes and 2 megabytes reads at the same time. So scaling your environment when it comes to Kinesis is about adding and removing shards. And of course, by adding and removing shards, you're also going to have to reshard the partitions to new shards that you had previously designed. So that's something you need to consider. Whenever there's a question saying, real time is required, then you always should be looking at Kinesis data streams. For processing data on Kinesis data streams, it's either data analytics, Kinesis data analytics, or it's going to be Lambda functions. That's probably the best approach. Then, of course, if it's not real time, you've got Kinesis Firehose. Now, what's the benefit of Kinesis Firehose? No configuration. It's easy to manage. So when the emphasis in the question is on manageability and, you know, ease of use, then Kinesis Data Firehose is the option. Data Firehose is also great because you don't have to manage the scaling at all. You just run it and it absorbs any amount of data and it just delivers it. So when you need delivery to S3, when you need delivery to Elasticache, when you need delivery to Redis, then Firehose is the best choice. Other options will be queuing SQS with queues. Now with SQS, we gotta know what the maximum size is, 256 kilobytes. With the Java plugin, you can do up to 2 megabytes, up to 2 gigabytes, up to 2 gigabytes, I think. Yeah, well, you'll have to look that up. I don't know it by heart. Let's look it up. SQS Java plugin, SQS SDK for Java. SQS SDK for Java features are SQS Java maximum size. I know that there's a maximum size. There we go. No, it's 250K, but with the Java extension, is it 2 gigabytes? SQS Java 2 gigabytes. Let's do 2 gigabytes. Yes, up to 2 gigabytes. So yeah, with SQS you can do send payloads up to 2 gigabytes with the extended client library that lets you utilize S3 for storing your data, right? So that's a great thing to remember because that might be in the exam itself. Right, then of course you're gonna have questions on potentially questions on MSK, managed services for Kafka. Definitely look into that. MSK is definitely an option for both streaming and queuing. So you should know how MSK clusters are built. You should have a bit of insight into how MSK works. So that's going to be part of the exam here, because MSK is kind of popular. The level of understanding here needs to be at the Q&A level, right? For Kinesis, for Firehose, well, when I say Kinesis, for Kinesis data streams, for Firehose, for SQS, for MSK, as far as ingestion is concerned. Then the second one is storage and data management, right? Let's bring this up a little bit. The second one is storage and data management. Now, here, there's going to be a lot of effort on when do you use S3 and when do you use anything but S3, right? So about 50% of storage for big data is going to be S3. And then when it's structured data, when it's an access pattern where it's frequently accessed or changes frequently, then S3 is not going to be your solution, right? Also, whenever you have data that's structured that needs to be accessible via SQL, where you have large volumes, then Redshift. When you have small volumes of data, then it's going to be, you know, typical SQL databases. And of course, when data needs to be stored as temporary data, here also consider that there's a possibility of using DynamoDB as a temporary storage, right? That's a clue there. Do know, of course, do know about all your databases. Again, at a very surface level, there's a lot of emphasis on Redshift. So do look into Redshift with a lot of detail. Processing, again, Kinesis Data Analytics. This is a really, really crucial part. Knowing what data analytics can do and what it can't do. Why is it good for looking for patterns, for summarizing, for looking for outliers in real time, right? So really good for trends analysis, really good for Even things like fraud detection, right? That's a possibility. Then we've got, of course, glue. Here in processing, glue is a crucial factor. Also maybe in storage, because how to catalog your data? Well, you should always be cataloging S3 data with glue. Glue is going to be a good option. And there's a feature in Firehose. So Firehose is able to also transform data either internally, or it's able to transform data when we talk about, for example, with a Lambda function. You can put the Lambda function on top of Firehose. You can put data analytics on top of Firehose. Otherwise, in all other situations, it's glue. Anything that doesn't fit in glue, then look at your in-memory analytics like Spark. Anything that doesn't fit into memory, then look at Hadoop for processing, right? So always start with the simplest solution. Can I do it with Firehose? Can I do it with data analytics? Can I do it with Lambda? And if it's real time, then Firehose is out. Then it's only data analytics and Lambda. And if it's more complicated, then it's Lambda, right? And then if it doesn't fit into any of those and I want to do it, I want to still process it frequently, then glue is a good option, because you're going to be able to trigger a Lambda function that triggers glue. Remember, Lambda functions need to be in between your source and glue to trigger a glue ETL job. And a glue ETL job cannot be just triggered out of, anywhere. Or even a glue catalog job, you need to trigger it with something, and that's going to be a Lambda function that's going to do that. If it doesn't fit into Lambda or glue, if it's Spark, then, well, if it was running previously, if it was written in Scala and it's running in glue, and you can't do that in glue, then of course the solution is gonna be Spark. And of course, if you can't do it with Spark, if it doesn't fit in memory, if it's a huge data set, then you should always look at EMR as your solution, and only in extreme scenarios would that be manually built Hadoop. But I don't think there'll be a question where it'll say, oh, you should use a manually built Hadoop, because EMR just has so many features. So it's pretty much going to be EMR with Spark or EMR with Hadoop for processing. Analysis and visualization. So here they're going to ask you questions about Zeppelin. They're going to ask you questions about Jupyter notebooks. They're going to even ask questions about Tableau potentially, and of course QuickSight, right? Remember that in QuickSight you do have some options to do a little bit of analytics also. So there are some features in QuickSight that can give you things like outlier detection, anomaly detection, etc., built in to QuickSight. So that's really cool. And then of course the last one is security, and this is just basic security. How do you protect your buckets? How do you protect your pipeline? How do you protect the ingestion part, the processing part? What kind of permissions do you need to give to Lambda functions to access services? Role is always the best answer, whatever the question is. A role is always the best answer, right? And finally, of course, there's gonna be some authentication and authorization questions that might include on-prem authentication. So for example, with Hadoop, you can do LDAP integration. Don't forget about that. Otherwise, federation with your LDAP, federation with external directories is also something to remember here. So here's a few example questions, right? Definitely take a look at these example questions. I'm gonna just skip this one. All of these are available on this site with the download sample questions. Now, what I wanted to talk to you about is the actual questions that you're going to use to quiz yourself. I've recently discovered Exam Topics as a really good solution for basically free, completely free questions. Just questions, not the answers. The answers, unfortunately, are a lot of times not correct. But there's a really cool thing in Exam Topics. And again, this is not promoted by Exam Topics. Previously, I've this is not a promotion for exam topics. This is just something I've discovered, right? I'm not getting any part of this. Previously, I recommended Wiz Labs, but honestly, after reevaluating the questions in the last 2 weeks from Wiz Labs, I have to say that they're not very good. They have really good explanations, right? They have good coverage of knowledge areas, but the way the questions are written, they're just written badly, a lot of them. They're just very confusing from the start. Yeah, I mean, that gets you into a good mindset where you're really, really focusing on you get to learn to focus on the specifics. Now, with exam topics, unfortunately, there isn't any analytics specialty questions yet. So what I'm going to recommend is you go for the big data specialty questions, right? It says exam version June 19th. I don't understand what that means because there was no June 19th exam anymore, right? All right, so questions themselves, they're pretty good, right? So these are eerily similar to what you have on the exam itself. So if you can answer these questions without resorting to revealing the solution, which might actually be wrong. So I didn't even click the reveal solution button. I rather click the discussion button where people are saying, answer is correct. And some have gone to the measure where they're saying they're giving the reason for why this answer is correct. This is a good knowledge base to test yourself and to get questions that are going to be very similar to the data analytics exam. So I'm going to recommend this one. It doesn't cost you anything. You can also buy. There's also exams from other places. They're all free. All the questions are free, but you can also get a subscription. I don't know what the subscription really does. So yeah. And of course, these are not real exam questions. These are not real exam questions, right? These are just questions that are very similar to what you would get in reality. So that's basically what I'm going to say here. Otherwise, the typical approach, looking at the services and looking at what services are going to be in the exam itself. So let's look at the service map. I didn't have this tab open, so I'm gonna just jump into here. Analytics services, of course, all of these are gonna be covered, right? Athena, definitely for ad hoc analytics. EMR for Hadoop, Redshift for data warehousing, data pipeline. I don't remember having any questions on data pipeline, but potentially if there's a question about orchestration of your data workflows, then of course. Cloud search, you just got to know it exists. Elasticsearch, you just got to know that it exists. Basics. Remember that Elasticsearch can be a target for Kinesis Firehose. If you want to output data, if it says we want to have logs that are being captured as streaming data and we want to output it into a platform that can run analytics on them, Elasticsearch is a great answer. Kinesis, all the Kinesis tools, right? The Kinesis tools are 4 different tools, right? So Kinesis video streams, Kinesis data streams, data firehose, and data analytics. I'd say, data streams, data firehose, and analytics, go deep into these. Video streams, know it exists, know what it does. Okay, let's go back to analytics. QuickSight, yes. Take a look at features of the QuickSight. QuickSight and Athena, you got to have about the same level of understanding. EMR, you got to have a good level of understanding of EMR, how to use it, what the frameworks that are available on top of EMR. Like, for example, that you can install Apache and Hive and Pig and Uzi and whatnot on Hadoop with EMR with a few clicks. So if you want to learn about EMR, go and deploy an EMR cluster on T2 instances, T2 micro free tier. Doesn't cost you anything, but it'll give you the best level of experience required to use it. Redshift, you can do a 30-day trial of Redshift, but More important is how to ingest data into Redshift, how it's stored, the columnar format, and of course, the copy operations, where you can do copy operations from, like copy from DynamoDB, copy from S3, and a bit on Redshift Spectrum also. Redshift Spectrum is also something you need to take a look at. And for Athena, how to cost optimize for Athena. What formats will be cheapest? Like, for example, columnar is cheaper than compressed, columnar is cheaper than partitioned, then is cheaper than compressed, is cheaper than raw data, right? So if you have raw data, you compress it, you partition it, and then convert it into columnar format, and you're a winner with your chicken dinner. Glue, yes. Again, EMR, Kinesis, Glue, these three require the biggest level of understanding, right? Elasticsearch, as I said, basic understanding. MSK for Kafka, really, that's a crucial service to understand. AWS Data Exchange, not really. Lake Formation, yes. Have an understanding of how lake formation works. Application integration, step functions, where you have to know that step functions cannot trigger operations like glue. You have to have Lambda, not step functions. MQ, not really. AppSync, not really. AppFlow, not no. SNS, basic understanding. SQS, yes. Have an understanding of SQS. Event Bridge, no. This, no. Cost management, yeah, sure. You know, having a basic understanding of what it'll cost you to process your platform environment, having a basic understanding of how you can save on EMR clusters with reserved and spot instances, having a bit of understanding how much you can save with reserved and how much you can save with spot, so you can properly scale your platform. You might have a question saying your EMR cluster requires this much capacity. Are you going to use 50 M4 large instances that are pay as you go? Are you going to use 80 spot instances? Are you going to use this or this or this, right? So that's something that you need to understand. Blockchain, no. Business applications, of course, no, none of those. End user, nope. Games, no. Internet of Things, yes. Having an understanding of IoT, just a basic understanding of message broker can also be used to queue up messages. That's good for analytics, right? So I would say a Q&A level of understanding of these. Machine learning, kind of a basic understanding of SageMaker would be enough here, right? Not really knowing anything else. Maybe having a bit of an understanding of what you can use to, let's say, recognize images. Like, for example, Recognito, you can analyze images. The difference between transcribe and Lex, right? Where Lex is your voice model and transcribe is the opposite of Lex. Like, it takes speech and turns it into text. Whereas Lex takes text and turns it into speech, right? Those kinds of things probably wouldn't hurt. Management and governance, CloudFormation and CloudWatch. These two, yes, of course. CloudTrail for, where's CloudTrail? CloudTrail for, definitely for security, for the security part, right? Computer Optimizer, no. Console, managed services, not really. Personal, trusted advisor, not really. Autoscaling, yes. How to scale your Hadoop clusters. Here, it's going to be about EC2 instances, and for example, you're going to have a sequential task on your Hadoop cluster, and these sequential tasks need different resources. How do you scale it, right? Typically, how do we autoscale? When we react to CPU usage increases, and then we increase the number of instances. But with Hadoop, you're going to try to use 100% of CPU. So how do you scale? Well, you scale between steps, right? You know that you've optimized your query for 10 instances, and the next query is going to be on 100 instances. So between steps, you run autoscaling. You trigger autoscaling between. Config, not really. License manager, OpsWorks, service catalog, none of these. Chatbot, no. CLI, well, yeah, basic CLI commands. Doesn't hurt to understand how CLI works. The management console, what you can do with the management console with analytics tools, right? what level of access do you have to Hadoop clusters through the management console? And the rest is not important. Quantum, no. Robotics, no. Satellite, no. Security compliance, yes. IAM, policies, roles, users and groups. Guard duty, no. Directory service for integration with your LDAP. Your Hadoop cluster can integrate with LDAP. So directory service, please know that it understands. Please understand that it exists. Whoa. What else? Yeah, the rest I don't see. Maybe for encryption, key management service, how to do encryption in Hadoop. How to do encryption in Hadoop definitely is going to be a question for sure. So that figure that out, right? File system encryption on Hadoop, how that works. And then, of course, the typical encryption that you have in transit and on at rest in S3, typical encryption that you can use in Kinesis, encryption, how encryption can be used in Firehose, right? You're storing to data streams and then encrypting and then feeding into Firehose. So that's crucial. And then storage, S3, yes, in detail. FSX for Lustre could be a question on FSX for Lustre. Backup, no. Cloud disaster recovery, no. Snow family, not a bad idea to know that you can physically transport data into AWS if required. EBS, yes. How EBS works in Hadoop also, especially under EMR, that EBS volumes are also ephemeral when you're using EMR. That's something to consider. FSX for file server, not really. EFS, yes, for sharing data that needs to be available at all times across multiple instances. That's a good way of doing things. Archiving with Glacier, yes, basic understanding. Storage gateway, maybe in a hybrid scenario, but not. I don't think that would really be a thing, right? I don't think that would be really be a thing, right? So definitely this is a good place to start, right? Good place to start exploring the solutions and taking a look at some of the white papers, right? So AWS white papers is a good place to start. Also, you can look at the white papers, analytics and big data, right? Just filter with analytics and big data, and you'll see like plenty of white papers to go through, right? That's something to really take a look at. Then of course AWS Training. So AWS.training is the place to be at, right? Here we have, if we go to learning library and we specify role, data engineer or data scientist, right? And we've got what, 13 items. Let's see, practical data science, this course, machine data, nah, not really. Satellite, understanding neural, semantic, deep dive, hands-on recognition, building a classification model. These are all sort of machine learning things. How about we do by domain, huh? Domain analytics, do we have? Analytics, big data, data analytics, there we go. All right, that's a good search, data analytics. Don't get stuck with the role. E-learning. This is a good class to take. The exam readiness, for sure. This will give you more information about the exam itself, right? Yeah. This is a really good course. 3.5 hours just spend looking at the domains and what each domain covers, and then of course get some test questions. Data analytics fundamentals. This class, great. Deep dive into tools for analyzing and streaming. Yes, this video, definitely a yes. Introduction to Kinesis, analytics for Java. Not a bad thing to continue on with. Data pipeline, yes, take a look at that. Warehousing with Redshift, yes, that's crucial. Mechanical Turk, not really. Kinesis analytics, yes. QuickSight, yes, definitely. 10 minutes to spend looking at this video is going to be crucial. Kinesis Firehose, yes, of course, crucial. This is not bad. 5 minutes on spending on analytics service overviews might be something that I've already talked about, so why not? MapReduce on EMR, yes, of course, and Athena, definitely. Let's see what's on page 2. Kinesis Streams, of course. Big Data Fundamentals, what's in the curriculum? What's in this curriculum? Yeah, this is good stuff. Big Data Technology Fundamentals, right? This is a free course, right? So take this definitely before you go for the exam. It might be basic, it might be below your current level, but yeah. And of course, the Big Data on AWS course. This one I recommend to anybody who's starting out with big data before they start working with solutions, or who has a basic understanding of the solutions and that they can then run it. Are there any classes scheduled? I don't think I have any big data classes scheduled. Let me just quickly check my calendar. I'm going to pull a tab offline here. All right, next week I'm doing developing, then DevOps engineering, then yeah, then it's far. Yeah, August 4th. August 4th, and I'm going to have a link to that training. If you're interested in doing the Big Data on AWS course, I'm going to put in a link. August 4th, 2020 is my next scheduled training, so I'm going to put that on June, July, August. Whoa, there's a lot. There's a lot of training. Well, that's because it's global, right? Globally, there's a lot of these trainings. August 4th. Virtual classroom. There you are. So this is the one. This is the one. This is the one I'm scheduled to teach 9:30 Eastern, 8:30 Eastern. What? Yeah. This is the class. This is definitely the class. 6:30 Pacific. Yeah. So this is a 9:30 Eastern. If you're interested, this is the class. It's discounted right now, so. All right. That's all I have to share with you about the data analytics specialty exam. Thank you for watching. And of course, as always, you know the routine. Subscribe to my channel. Help me build this into a community. Help me get to over 1,000 users so that we can 1,000 subscribers so that we can have live sessions on the go instead of me just always recording stuff on the go and then kicking out most of it because it's not as good as it's supposed to be. I'm trying to get to do at least one live session a week, but I'm kind of not finding time. So yeah, let's try to do that. Let's try to get more live sessions on. And of course, like and comment videos. That will also help me build this channel up. I really appreciate each and every one of you who subscribed. So thank you very much. And I will see you in my next one. Bye.